All right, so let's get started. So for all of you that are here, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Dan Shaw, and I am the Assistant Director for Career Advising and Success for Career Services. And today I'm going to be going over the LinkedIn profile and how to set up a LinkedIn profile in a way that's going to allow you to create a professional brand for yourself, while also to create a profile that's attractive to employers and recruiters. LinkedIn has been around for some time now, and over the years, you can essentially say it is the go-to professional networking platform. There's around, I would say, 500 million members on LinkedIn right now. So being on the platform will give you a competitive edge in networking, but also in searching for a job, because it kind of serves as a one-stop shop for job searching, for networking, for learning more about the major or career field that you're pursuing. And it's just a great way to stay on top of what's going on in your particular fields of interest. And it'll allow you to also keep track of employers that you might be interested in working for one day. It's just a great way to acquire knowledge. But primarily today, I'm going to focus on how to create a profile in a way that is in a way that's going to show you in the best light possible. And like I said before, in order to create that professional branding. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to be primarily working on my platform and showing my platform today, just because it's going to be the easiest to edit. All right. So let me see. Make sure. So can you all see can someone unmute themselves and tell me if they can see my profile?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you so much. All right, so this is my profile. And what I'm going to be doing is going over the LinkedIn checklist that is on our website. Also, you can find the LinkedIn checklist for students if you go to the careers tab of Inside Pacific, you'll be able to find it there. Within that checklist, I have all the sections I'm going to talk about today and what to include in each of them. So if you can't remember what we talked about, you'll have that in order to kind of refresh your memory. So once again, like I said before, it's going to be your number one tool for selling the brand you would like to emphasize about yourself. So when I say the word brand, I know that can mean a lot of different things to people, but when I say your professional brand, I want you to imagine if I ask someone about you in a professional setting, or if I ask someone about you that might work with you, or someone that knows you well within these maybe academic, professional contexts, what are some things that come to mind when your name is mentioned? And whatever comes easily to mind when your name is mentioned, that is what your current professional brand is. And think about any other brand that exists, right? If you kind of do some free association, if I was to say Apple products to you, if I was to say McDonald's, if I was to say Mercedes, if I was to say Facebook, all of these products, there's certain things that come to mind immediately when you hear that. So when LinkedIn and you're on LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to start to build that narrative about yourself. So most people, when they hear my name, they think of LinkedIn because I'm the guy that does all the LinkedIn boot camps. So I do that purposely, right? Because when I have people who think about me, I want them to think of LinkedIn because that's part of my brand, right? So think about the type of professional you would like to be, or think about the industry that you're wanting to go into. If you're wanting to go into, let's say, medicine, and you're wanting to be a doctor, what are some of the professional standards or some of the qualities you think an effective doctor has? And are you able to currently express those through your LinkedIn profile? I mean, if you want to go into, let's say, accounting, what should an accountant, a successful accountant, What would you think of when you think of a successful accountant? Can you attach those to your brand? If you wanted to go into, let's say, a nonprofit, and if you wanted to be a marketing director, what are all the things that you associate with those titles, and can you associate some of those qualities to you? So that's what you want to do with your LinkedIn profile. So I'm going to go over this first section up here, which involves the professional photo, your name, and then also the headline. Feel free at any point, if you have a question, to just put it into the chat feature, and I'll be happy to answer it for you. And if you want to send a chat to me, just me, where you don't send it to the whole group, that's fine as well, and I'll make sure to answer it. Or just feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question along the way. But so this is the first section that I'm going to go over. So the professional photo, your name, and your headline. You'll see that you have an opportunity to put a photo in here in this background photo. Same thing, branding. What is something that you put in that background that kind of enhances that brand? When people think of me, I want them to associate University of Pacific with me. So what I do in putting that photo, I put the University of Pacific in my background, right? Some people, if they're in a certain industry, like let's say they're in engineering, they might put something that's related to the type of engineering that they're going into. If someone has like their own website or their own brand, they might put their branding for their website or their website's logo in the background. Totally up to you. But regardless, I do want you to have a photo. Your profile is not going to be looked at as much if you don't have a photo. It's just like any other social media platform. Oh, looks like I'm trying to edit that. It's just like any other social media platform. How likely are you to respond to someone that you don't know if they send you a request if they don't have a photo, right? It's kind of like sometimes seen as a little creepy or weird if someone doesn't have a photo. So any photo that's taken on a camera that was made within the last 2 years will probably be fine. Just make sure that you're in professional attire. What's considered professional is dependent on the field or the space that you find yourself within. Because what's considered professional in maybe an accounting firm probably won't be the same standard as a tech startup, right? There's going to be different levels of professionalism and what's considered professional. So, try to go with what most people in your industry or your field would look like in their photo. But in general, some qualities of the photo, you just want your face to take up the majority of the frame. I should be able to see you clearly. So you see how I have pretty much from the shoulders up, that's completely fine. Once we get back to campus at some point, our office offers free professional photos. So you can just make an appointment with us where you come dressed up, and we'll take you anywhere on campus and take as many photos as you like until you're satisfied. So you have a nice, expensive looking profile photo. But you just want to make sure it's not a selfie. Make sure it's someone else who has taken the photo of you. Like I say, any phone made within the last few years will take a nice quality photo. And some things that students might put, a lot of students will put maybe like their graduation photos or things of that nature. I will reserve those more for a Facebook, but for LinkedIn, business casual will most likely do. Also, you want to make sure the photo looks like you on average, or what you look like in general. So if I saw you in person in your picture, they should match to a certain extent. So if you're maybe someone that wears glasses a lot, and if I saw you in person, you'd probably be wearing glasses, then I would have on glasses in the photo. I wear glasses, but pretty much only when I'm driving. So I don't put glasses in my photo because if someone sees me, on average, they won't see me wearing glasses. Same thing, if your hair is a certain way the majority of the time, or if you're someone that goes through a lot of hair changes, maybe pick the hairstyle that you have on average. Anyone have any questions about the photo? Okay. The next is the name.
Wait, I have a question
Okay.
real quick for you, Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on that background picture, you're saying, so that, just to make sure that I heard it right, you're saying that should kind of reflect what you're trying to portray yourself in your field as, or what you were saying in that aspect?
Yeah, so this background photo here, we have University of Pacific.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll find that the majority of people that have those background pictures, it usually will reflect where they live on pretty much, or where they work. So if you look at a lot of people are that are working in the Bay Area, most of them will have like that Bay skyline, or a picture of the San Francisco Bay like skyline. Some people will have pretty much the logo of their job or a picture about their job. So that's what you'll see most average on average, but you don't have to have that photo, but it is, you want to look at that as a piece of real estate on your profile. So if you can include something, include something.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. So your name right here, this is the area where you want to put the name that you would like to be called professionally. So I would say the same name that's on your resume, make sure that it is the same on your LinkedIn profile. Because when we talk about branding, an important characteristic of effective branding is consistency, right? So that's why I'm telling you to keep a lot of the things that you are on average consistent. So if you would like to be called a particular, if you would like to be called like a nickname, or like, let's say your name is William, but you like to be called Bob, or let's say your name is Daniel and you want to be called Dan. What I'm called, Dan or Daniel, it doesn't, I don't really have a preference, so it doesn't matter to me. But when you are putting that name down, you're signaling to others that's what you like to be called, right? So if I'm introducing myself to Candy, who's on this call, and I say, hi, my name's Dan, nice to meet you. And she says, hi, my name's Candy, it's a pleasure. What she's saying when she says Candy, that's the name she would like to be called. I won't be calling, so if I saw her after that and called her Candace, right, that would be weird, because she didn't indicate that's what she would like to be called. So go by the name that you would like to be called. And some people will put like their actual name and then parentheses, their nickname after that, or in quotation marks, that's fine as well. But you might throw off LinkedIn's algorithms if you put in things like parentheses and things of that nature. But just keep some consistency. And then next is the headline. So this is extremely important as well, because it's important space on this profile and its real estate. So this is where you put in a few terms or a few sentences where you show others who are coming to your profile who you are in just a brief moment, right? So they should kind of sum up who you are as a professional, or who you currently are, in a way where I know, if I'm looking at your profile, if you're the person that I'm looking for, or someone that I'd be interested in learning more about. You'll find that most students will just put that they're a University Pacific student. I think that's a waste of space, honestly, because they're going to see that on your profile anyways. Even putting down your major really doesn't tell me much about you, because I'm going to see that once again on your profile in another area. And then, I mean, just think about some of the majors that you all are in. There's a lot of different occupations or areas that you can go into, right? If you just say business student, there's a lot of areas of business, right? If you even say psychology, there's a lot of areas of psychology. If you say health and exercise science, that still doesn't, it tells me a little bit about you, but not a lot. So if you look at mine, I have a career advisor. So that's my job title, pretty much. And there's a lot of things that you can do within career advising, right? I'm doing a presentation right with you all right now. I also teach a course. I also do one-on-one advising. I also do group advising. So what do I want to emphasize? What do I want to attach to my brand? So I put interviewing. So interviewing is one of the areas that I like to spend a lot of energy and time within, because I enjoy it so much. So I put interview coach. And then strong interest inventory certified practitioner is an important, it's an important area or important certification to have within career advising. So someone that's looking at my first section, you can tell in a snapshot who I am and what I bring to the table. An analogy I like to give is, imagine you had a billboard on the highway where someone was looking at your billboard and you wanted them to call the number that you have on that billboard. What would you put on that billboard in order for them, or to convince them to call you? And the example that I will give most commonly, because everyone sees them, are personal injury attorneys. Those billboards are everywhere, right? So it'll have like the lawyer or the attorney a picture of them or their associate, and then their name, the number to call, and they might have like a catchphrase that they always use or a tagline. So I'm from Buffalo, New York, and a popular lawyer or attorney was William Mattar. So his tagline was "Hurt in a car, call William Mattar." Everywhere you go, you always see those two things: William Mattar, hurt in a car, call William Mattar. It was in all of his commercials, it was on all of his billboards. And so if you think if someone gets in an accident and they don't know anything about personal injury attorneys, who do you think they're going to call, right? Because he associates that with his brand. Same thing, right? Whenever you say McDonald's, you always see, I'm loving it, right? Whenever you see a lot of brands, there's always something, right? Whenever you see Nike, what do you see? Just do it, right?
Just do
Right.
it.
So it's because they want you to tag those two things together. So you want to think about what would you put down on your billboard to make them call that number. And so think about it. If you are in a particular major, you can say that you're a sociology major, but tell me a little bit more. Maybe you're a sociology student with interest in criminal justice, and you're currently pursuing to become a corrections officer. You know, if you're a business student with a concentration in entrepreneurship, what are you thinking about doing within that area? So write down right now what you would put maybe in this area. Anyone have any questions about the headline?
I have a question, Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead.
For example, the length. For example, if you say, okay, bachelor's and master of accounting graduate, first generation college graduate, community involvement program scholar, is that like too long, or we have to keep it like short and just like yours, where it's like 2 lines?
You do have a certain amount of space to write down the headline. I don't know exact character count, but I would try to just keep it concise. So you don't want to put too little, but you also want to put too much. You want to have that healthy balance between those two things. And a lot of the things that I'm saying today, it's a little bit more general. So, you know, if you want to meet with me to go over your profile, I'd be happy to do that. We can sit down and look at it together. But I would say, you know, put your industry that you're in or your job title if you do, but then so, you know, if you say accounting, right?
Yes.
So actually repeat the headline that you had.
So what I have is bachelor's and master's of accounting graduate from the University of the Pacific, cum laude, first generation college graduate, community involvement program scholar. It's too long.
Okay, so here they're gonna find all that out. Like you're gonna put that in other places put that in other places of your profile. And the question I would ask is, what you're going to put on your billboard depends on who you're trying to attract, right? Now, if you're trying to attract, recruiters to hire you for an accounting position, then some of those things on the headline are not relevant to recruiters, right? So you want to think about what can you put in your profile to help people find you, right? Because LinkedIn is all about algorithms, right? So if you're trying to search for, and it also depends on what your LinkedIn profile is for, right? If I was in a job search, my headline would probably look different. So it depends on what you're using LinkedIn for. But if you're using LinkedIn to find jobs and opportunities, then my headline will reflect what I want recruiters to find, right? So I might put accountant, right? So as long as you, like, if your education gives you the qualifications to be able to call yourself that. So like, for example, if you get a degree in engineering, you are an engineer, despite if you have a job or not, right? So if you go to an accounting school and you get a degree in accounting, you're an accountant, right? So I would put down accountant or accounting, but then the different areas that you would like to do accounting within, right? So you might say accountant, you might put some other industries that you're interested in. So you might put nonprofits, you might put commercial banking, you might put you're interested in working in higher education. So there's a lot of areas that you could do accounting in, right? So give me some more specifics about that.
Thank you for the tip.
Yeah, no problem. Anyone have any other questions about the headline?
So you should I'm kind of the same as Candy. Mine's not super long, but I have computer science graduate student at University of the Pacific. What you're saying is that you should take that and then take the focused area for what I want recruiters to see me as, so software engineer, and then
Yeah.
it should be that, and then spaced with other kind of sub areas of that field.
Yeah, and think about it, right? You should just say software engineer, right? Full stack, right? Front end. Like there's a lot that you, right? There's a lot of different
Yeah.
types of software engineering. So be a little bit more specific. And the reason why I'm so spend a lot of time on the headline and the picture and the name is because recruiters use a platform called LinkedIn Recruiter. And I would say about 92% of recruiters use LinkedIn to find candidates. And that's why it's so important to have a LinkedIn profile. But let me just show you, let me see, software, I'll put that in here. Software engineer and people. So recruiters have the ability to put in their platform LinkedIn Recruiter, and they can put in all types of features and filters. So they can put down your education, they can put down your location, they can put down your major, they can put down specific skills that you have. Because if I just type in, you see I typed in software engineer, 13 million people showed up, right? So that's a huge pool of people for a recruiter to sift through. So I'm assuming that they're looking for something a little bit more specific. And the reason why it's so important, and like I said, I wouldn't take these headlines that exist as an example, because like I said, if you're looking for a job versus you have a job, your headline would maybe look a little bit different, or I would suggest it looked a little bit different. And also, just remember your LinkedIn profile is a living, breathing entity. It's just like any other social media profile, right? Right? You probably switch up your Instagram photo every now and then, right? You change other things about your other social media profiles. So anything that you do is not set in stone. It should reflect what you currently are and what you're currently looking to emphasize. So the reason why it's so important is because when a recruiter does their search and puts in all their features, this is what's going to show up to them in the search that they see. So these are going to be this is what the results of their search is going to look like. So when I'm looking at these, all they're going to be able to see for the most part are your picture, your name, and your headline. So if your headline is specific in reflecting what current areas you're interested in, then you're going to help out the recruiter. So this could be the difference between someone clicking on your profile and not clicking on your profile. And I know sometimes you might want to say, well, I don't want to pigeonhole myself and I want to kind of cast a wide net, but the more wide your net is, the more likely you're going to be in a larger pool of people.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have you be more specific.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're not looking for every software engineering job. You're probably interested in specific software engineering jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you put that you were a software engineer interested in working for startups, that's still a lot more specific than just putting software engineer. So that's what I would say for the headline. Just be as specific as possible.
Awesome. Thank you.
LinkedIn's all about algorithms. So the next section I want to go into is the about section here. Sometimes people don't even include the about section, but once again, like I said, don't waste real estate on your LinkedIn profile. Your about section essentially expands upon the things that are in your headline. If you think about the top section as your billboard, and you have about 5 seconds to look at a billboard, think of the about section as your commercial, right? So it's like the difference between seeing a personal injury attorney billboard and a personal injury attorney commercial, right? One's like 5 seconds for the billboard, but how long are most commercials? 30 seconds, a minute, right? So in here, you get to talk a little bit more about yourself, right? So let's say, because sometimes students might have more unique interests. For instance, I had a student that was in a business class I was doing this for a few days ago that is has a business degree, but also has a computer science degree at the same time. And he talked about wanting to incorporate those and why. This is where you have an opportunity to explain certain things like that. In your about section, I want to know a few things. I want to know, what are you currently interested in? What's your current field interest? What's your major? And just give me your motivation for being in this particular area. So if you're a software engineer, why are you interested in that area? What made you get into it? What's your motivating factors? If you're in accounting, why did you get into accounting? Why are you in accounting? Why do you want to pursue this? What makes it interesting to you? So kind of tell me what makes you tick within this area. And then you can go into some other factors about yourself if you want. Like Candy, you mentioned you're a first generation student. That could be something, if that's part of your professional brand, that you're a first generation student, then you can put that in your about section. And then also, you can tell me some key things that you bring to the table, or some skills that you want to highlight. So for a lot of software engineers, they'll have like an about kind of paragraph where it kind of gives that overview. And then they might put in bullet points some key languages or skills that they bring to the table. So you can do it however you want, but I should know who you are, what motivates you, what are some key skills or characteristics that you would like to highlight about yourself that you believe are important to your professional brand. And then also tell me where you're going, right? How are you looking towards the future? What are you kind of planning for the future? So you look at mine, I sort of go over all those things. So like I said, this is about 30 seconds that you want to give someone to read this. And if you want to compare it to other professional ideas, this is similar to what you might call an elevator pitch, right? Or a professional introduction. This is similar to what that might be. Any questions about the about section? Okay. So the next section that I am suggesting that you have is the experience section. This should be the easiest section to do, because what I want you to do, bare minimum, is go to your resume and copy paste whatever you have your resume to here. And I kept the bullet points from my resume just because I think bullets are easier to read. And then also keep in mind, for most areas or industries, you're going to keep your resume down to one page. So you're not going to always be able to put everything you want on your resume, everything that you bring to the table. So if you are on your LinkedIn profile, keep in mind, you can put a lot more on your LinkedIn profile than you can on your resume. So no need to be brief. But with this area, you want to still do the same thing you're doing in your resume, highlight what you've done in the past, the impact that it's made, some success metrics. And what I like about the LinkedIn profile is you not only have the opportunity to tell people what you bring to the table and what you've done, but you can show them. So if you go into the pencil, it'll allow you to edit any section every time you see a pencil. But as you can see, you can add multimedia. So you can add links to external documents, photos, sites, videos, presentations. So can you show someone also what you've done? So if you've been a part of group projects, do you have a PowerPoint that you created for it? Was there a report that you generated for an internship? Is there a video of you doing something? So once again, going back to the idea of professional brand, let's say within your industry, public speaking is extremely important, and you want to emphasize that public speaking is part of your brand, then show me you doing some public speaking. Link me to a video of you doing public speaking. Give me pictures of you doing public speaking, right? If you want to sell about yourself that you're a collaborator, show me you collaborating with other people, right? Give me a PowerPoint which you created with other people. So that's what I would definitely consider with your with your experience section, is to add that multimedia. It's not something many people do, but just think about a recruiter who's coming to your page. They're gonna learn a lot about you by just looking over just these few sections. So take advantage of it. So that's going to be your experience section. Something I also like to mention, if you've done a job, because primarily people will put jobs that they were paid for in this section, but if you had an experience or a role which required a lot of time, energy, and resources that came from you, where let's say you were in charge of a group or organization, or you did a volunteer experience where you're a leader, you had significant impact where you have concrete things to show for your experience. Not only add that in your experience section, you could put that in volunteering. For example, when I was in graduate school, I was the Graduate Student Association president. I wasn't paid for that, but it took up a lot of my time, and I did a lot of work. So I put that in my experience section as opposed to volunteering. So if you had a role where it required a lot of significant effort and you had a impactful role, then I would put that in the experience section as well. Any questions about experience? Okay.
I
Next.
kind of assumed from yours that bullet points is the way to go for that rather than a paragraph format.
Well, yeah, to be quite honest with you, it's just like seeing a paragraph on a resume. Someone might read it, but paragraphs just take a lot more cognitive energy to read. And the example I give is if you were doing a presentation, like an oral presentation in front of your class, and let's say you're writing down notes on an index card, are you going to write down like paragraphs, or are you going to write down quick little bullet points so you can kind of just look down on it? So the easier you make it for them to skim down the page, the more likely they're going to read it. That's what I'll say in general.
Okay.
Yeah. But totally up to you. Sometimes people, on a resume, I would normally say, don't give like a paragraph about what your job generally was. But you can do that on your LinkedIn profile. So if you want to, in your experience section, put like a little quick 3 sentences about what your role was, and then you want to go into the bullet points, that's fine as well. Chances are they'll probably just read the bullet points, but you can still put that paragraph in there if you want. In your education section, similar to on your resume, include schools that you have or will receive a degree from. If you just took a course at a community college, or you transferred from somewhere but you didn't receive a degree from that area, now you don't need to put that down. But just schools that you have or will receive a degree from. You'll also notice in education that you can put a lot of different things. You can put down your grade, your GPA. You can put down activities and size you're a part of, and you can also put up a description of your education. Now, you utilize this description section if maybe your educational background is a little bit more unique, or it might be hard for someone to decipher by just skimming over it. An example I give is with Media X students. Media X is a new type of degree, and not a lot of people might know what Media X means. It sounds kind of like mysterious, like Media X. What does the X mean? Like, I don't know, what does X-Men mean, right? So here you can kind of describe, what your degree is about and what it entails. Or if you have someone that has like maybe a more unique educational background where maybe you kind of create your own major, or it's interdisciplinary, or maybe you combine 2 majors, you can explain why. But you can kind of sum up that information in that area of the education section. All right. Next section is skills and endorsements. And this is always a section that I say I need to, tailor more or cater more time to, or give more time to. And I love this section when you think about it, because before this section, it's just you saying stuff about yourself. And we all know to a certain extent we can be somewhat biased when it comes to what we bring to the table, because we want to, sometimes we want to show ourselves in the best light. But when you think about branding, what I love about this section is you can start to put the skills that you believe you possess down in this area, and people who are connected with you on LinkedIn can now endorse you for that skill. So if I put down career counseling and someone says, oh, Dan, he knows career counseling, let me confirm him for that. Or, if I wanted to put down LinkedIn as one of my skills, then I could put LinkedIn down, and let's say you all do this presentation and we connect on LinkedIn and you look at my skills and you're like, oh yeah, I took that bootcamp with them. Let me confirm them for that skill. So you can also You see that I have those top 3. You can pin your top 3 to the beginning of the list. And it's great because, like I said, outside of this area, it's just you saying stuff about yourself. So this gives other people the ability to confirm that they know you have that skill. So what you're starting to do is give your brand credibility. Because I can go on and on about being good at something or having a skill, but if I start having other people confirm that skill by endorsing me, then it's starting to give what I'm saying about myself a little bit more weight. Going back to the analogy of being a brand, consider the skills and endorsement section similar to like a rating on like a platform like Amazon. You know, when you go to buy something, you'll see how much people rate the product out of 5 stars, I believe. Or if you go on Yelp, it's the same setup. Think about it. How many of you are going to buy something off of Amazon, and when you look at the product and its ratings, it doesn't have any ratings? You're probably going to, and I'm talking about things that cost more than like $100. So something you might consider a significant purchase, right? How many of you are going to buy something off Amazon without looking at the ratings? So if you look at that product and it has like maybe 80% people give it 5 stars, then you're probably going to be like, oh, right, there's some truth to that. So that's why you want to start getting people to endorse you for your skills, because it allows you to give that brand credibility. And then as a recruiter, I can put in specific skills that I'm looking for and it'll show up. And this is important. If you have 5 to 10 skills, I think the last statistic I reviewed is that your profile is 27 times more likely to be found. And then you'll also notice if you go into the job search feature of LinkedIn, it'll tell you how many of the skills that you have listed on your profile match up with the skills that they're requiring for the job in the posting. So that's another advantage. So like I said, it's all about, you know, giving your brand credibility. So that's how you want to kind of view this section. You'll also see that LinkedIn recently, within the last year, added these skill quizzes. So this is just another external way to confirm that you have a skill. It's like a quick quiz that you can take about a skill. And they're expanding these quizzes and they're adding more each day, but just take a look at, so they have a lot of like products. So let's say you think you're proficient, let's say a candidate, you're going on accounting. What's something important in accounting? Excel, right? Mm-hmm. So you want to take the Excel quiz. Or maybe you're in engineering, you want to take a Python quiz, right? So you can take the quiz and then it'll give you a badge to say that you passed it. So like I said, once again, it's an external way of giving you credibility. So that's going to be skills and endorsements. The best way to get someone to endorse you is for you to endorse them, actually. So it's kind of like the law of reciprocity. Another section I'm going to recommend to give your brand credibility are recommendations. And recommendations are, I think, the most underutilized portion of a LinkedIn profile, because not a lot of people do them or take advantage in order to get them. This is an opportunity for someone that's worked with you who can speak on it and write a little short paragraph about their experience working with you. So think about it. If the skills and endorsement section is your ratings, think about the recommendations portion as the comment section of that review that a customer does. So think about it. You can go on and on about, reading just the ratings for a product, but where do you find out the most information? When you hear from a customer that's actually used that product and they give you more details about why they gave you that rating. And that's why the comment section is so valuable. And that's what this is very similar to. And think about it. Whenever you see a product or a brand, they could just give you the statistics or facts when they're trying to sell you something, right? The example I give is with like prescription drug commercials and how they always take a similar format. Or think of even like a over-the-counter product like Claritin, which is allergy medicine, right? That you can take. And I always describe the commercials where the commercial starts off with a person and they're talking about how bad their allergies are, they can't see. If you look at the screen, Claritin, like they actually like blur out the screen and make it a little bit more dreary and dark. Uh, and the person's like, oh, I can't see anything. My nose is constantly running. My eyes are red. I can't be around my dog because I have dog, something like that, right? And then what happens? They say, now that I've taken Claritin D, everything changes, right? So they do everything in the commercial to like show that visually, where they take the screen and they make it so clear. It's like the most HD type of scenery that you can see about the commercial. And then what's the person doing? They're like frolicking through like fields with their grandkids. They're holding their dog that they couldn't be near. But they could have just given you statistics, right? Claritin D does this. 9 out of 10 customers say improve symptoms. But so much more impactful when you have a story that goes along with it, right? They do the same thing for political commercials, right? If they're trying to, right now in California, there's all these props, right, that they have. If you see those commercials, it's never like they have one right now for dialysis patients and a prop that they're having to do with dialysis clinics. And what do? They don't just lay out the prop and the facts. They get someone that goes to dialysis to talk about their experience and how it impact them, right? So that's why it's so important, I think, to have these recommendations. So think about it. If you're within a specific industry, let's say tech, software engineering, think about what are all of the aspects that make a great software engineer. And what you can do is you can pick people that can speak on different areas of your skills and abilities. So don't just pick people that can just focus on one thing. Think about the entire brand that you're trying to sell. So, be strategic about who you ask. This can be people that have supervised you. It can be coworkers. It can be someone that's on the same group project as you, a coworker, someone that you've mentored or you've helped. And think about it. What are you trying to sell about yourself? If you're trying to sell that you're a great collaborator, then have someone that has collaborated with you talk about their experience collaborating with you. If you believe that you're innovative, like that's something, like if you're wanting to go into entrepreneurship, like something you have to be is innovative, right? Pick someone that can speak upon your innovation abilities, right? So try to get about 2 to 3 of these just to start off. You'll also notice that you can write other people recommendations as well. But if you look at mine, I have students, I have previous supervisors, I have coworkers. So I can go on and on about my ability as a career advisor. But if I was applying for a job, and this is another thing you do when you're applying for a job, is after you've done an interview, you can say, I had such a great conversation with you all today, and I was thankful for the opportunity to you to get to know me a little bit more. But if you want to know like how people feel about working with me, don't just take my word for it. Go to my LinkedIn profile, and you can see some stories and some testimonials of people work for me. So don't take my word for it. Take other people that work for me, right? That becomes so much more impactful, right? So that's why I would suggest getting these recommendations. So that is pretty much how I would organize your profile, or the things that I believe you should have on your profile. One other thing I want to show you in this particular area is if I go to this section up here, the last class I actually went to told me that I should zoom in my screen a little bit more to help you see. So if you can't see, my apologies, but I'll make it a little bit bigger. So if you go back to your profile, you'll see it has this area here called Edit Public Profile and URL. I'm going to click on that. And this is where you can control your privacy settings for people who are connected with you or who are not connected with you. But the section I want to point your attention to is here where it says personalize the URL for your profile. So what I want you to do is make this as close to your name as possible, because that way it'll be easier for an employer to find you if they Google you. And I'm telling you right now, they'll probably Google you. And when an employer Googles you, you want your LinkedIn profile to be up at the top at that link, at that Google search. And also, If you make it nice and clean, you can put that URL and your contact information on your resume. And like I said, if you don't have the opportunity to get to put down everything that you want in that resume, if they have the link, they can just go right to the LinkedIn profile. All right, so make that as close to your name as possible. And for those of you that might have a more unique name, this is actually a benefit to you. I have more of a run-of-the-mill, average American name. So you notice I put in my middle initial and I added in a 1. It's similar to trying to make your Instagram name, your name, it might be taken. So what do? You add in hyphens, or you might add in an underscore, or you might add in a number or two. So try to make it look as much like your name as possible. And then it'll be easier for people to find you, and it'll look nice and clean at the top of your resume section. So let me go back to here. So that's pretty much profile essentials. And let me just say, if you just make a LinkedIn profile and you don't, because a lot of people will just make LinkedIn profiles because it's a class assignment, or they'll make a LinkedIn profile because they're a professional and they just think they have to make one. There's been many platforms that I had to create just for the purpose of a class assignment, especially in graduate school. I remember in graduate school, I had to create a Pinterest account. A lot of people use Pinterest, but I just made it for the class, but I never really use it because I don't really put any effort or time into it. I think also I had to make like a Weebly or Wix website for myself in graduate school, but I never actually ended up using it because I don't pay that much attention or put energy into it. So if you just make a profile on LinkedIn and don't do anything with it or don't engage with it, it's going to be useless to you. You're never going to use it, quite honestly. I'm not saying you have to go on LinkedIn every day, but if you want to get the full benefits of LinkedIn, you have to actually engage with the platform. And it's the same thing like any other social media site. If you go on Instagram every day, if you go on Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat every day, I would guess for the most part, the reason why you believe you're on there is because you find what's on there relevant and interesting to you. So when you're on your LinkedIn profile, start to build your network where you start to connect with people that are similar or like-minded or in the same industry as you. And then when you open up your news feed, you're going to scroll through it and you're going to find what's on there interesting. So if you look at mine, it's a lot of students, but also a lot of career professionals. But as I scroll through it, there's always going to be something I find interesting because I populated with interesting things. So you can do that by adding people to your network that are within your industry. You can also over here follow hashtags. So you see I follow interviewing, I follow LinkedIn Learning, I follow job interviews. So anytime someone posts a hashtag with that, it shows up on my newsfeed. Also, I'm sure there's industry leaders in your area, right? Popular software engineers, popular accountants, or people that are just like kind of leaders or thought leaders in your area. Follow those people. You know, you can follow even like, you know, I follow like Bill Gates or Oprah, follow those people. So feel free, or just follow things that are interesting. Like I follow Lucasfilm just because I'm a Star Wars fan. So, but you know, it's relevant to me, so I'm gonna look at it. I follow also a lot of recruiters. If you're in the job search process, you definitely want to look up recruiters, and you also want to follow them because anytime there's a job opening, the recruiter will always post it. And it'll keep you on top of what's going on. So let me show you a few more things and then we'll wrap up and I'll leave like 5 minutes for questions. But like I said, follow people that are relevant. A great way to start off adding people is to start off with just specific affiliated individuals. So anytime you click on a logo, it'll take you to that organization's page. And if you look at schools, it will show you who's connected or has specific listed in their education or in their profile. So you'll see this alumni button. So you can see where people live. So there's about 38,000 people that have Pacific in their profile. So there's a lot of people that you can start to connect with. So where they live, you can see where they work, you see what they do, what they studied. So, you know, if I'm Candy and I'm looking for an accountant position, I can put in my own filter and put in accounting. or even just accountant, and 622 people show up, right? So if I know that I'm interested in working for a specific company, and let's say I want to work at Deloitte, I can click in Deloitte because I can see where people are working, and then I can start reaching out to people and connecting with them and chatting with them about what they do. Just make sure if you connect with someone, you kind of just send them a note and let them know why you're connecting, just to be courteous. But that's what you can do. The search feature of LinkedIn, so I'll show you two more things. The search feature of LinkedIn is an amazing source of information because you can type in any topic and you'll get a lot of different things. So if I put in software engineer, you'll notice that I can search for people, jobs, content, and more. So this is where I start off with adding content that's relevant to me. So I can search for people. So if I'm someone that's looking for a software engineer job and I want to meet, let's say I want to live in the San Francisco Bay Area, I can put in filters under people and put locations. I can put San Francisco Bay. And now there's 402,000 people. This is another great way if you put in locations to find out what the job market is like in a specific location to see how many people are working in that area. So this would tell me that San Francisco is pretty decent for software engineers for obvious reasons. But you can even put in more filters and put in specific companies. So if I want to be a software engineer and I want to meet software engineers that live in the San Francisco Bay Area that work at Apple, now it's 16,000 people, right? And let's say I want to be even more specific, I can even put in schools. So I can put in Pacific. Look at that. There's 27 people that went to University of Pacific that are software engineers that live in San Francisco that work at Apple. So if you're wanting to connect with people, these is how I would start. Because when it comes to networking, you want to network with people that have a common bond with you, because that makes them more likely to engage with you because they see a portion of themselves within you. But like I said, you can look up people, you can look up jobs. And the great thing about looking up jobs is it'll show you the job posting, but then it'll also give you the company logo. You can click right on that. If I'm interested in working for PlayStation, I can follow PlayStation. So anytime they post anything, it's going to show up in my profile. And now I'm staying on top of all these companies I want to work for. So like I said, you can search for jobs, people. There's groups, LinkedIn groups. I don't have time to go through that, but it's an amazing way to meet people of like-minded interests. But yeah, it's a great way to just collect information on your field. But like I said, if you ever want to meet with me to go over your particular interests and your career goals, feel free to meet with me. But have a few minutes left for questions. So does anyone have any questions? Thank you for sitting through that long type of presentation. I know it's a lot of information, but that's the thing about LinkedIn that I love is that there's always something new and there's always a new way to sell that brand that we were talking about. Does anyone have any questions?
Daniel, I have a question regarding the headline. Regarding for example, I graduated from UOP. Can I say accountant even though I'm not really like a CPA yet? Can I just say like accountant?
Yeah, I would say accountant interested in X area, pursuing your CPA.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah, on the note of those recommendations on your profile, do you think is that something where you shouldn't add it until you have like 5 or 6 people that are going to recommend you, or is it if you got 1 or 2 people, put it because it's worth it at that point?
Oh yeah, put in one if you have one.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will say it's a lot easier to get recommendations from people right after you're work with them. So, the longer you wait, the longer you know, things happen when you stop working somewhere, right? You lose contact with people, and then you want the experience someone had with you to be recent, so it's all fresh in their mind. Like when a student I'm working with told me they just got a job, and what I did with their LinkedIn profile really helped them get the role. Then I'm going to ask them like, oh, thank you so much. Will you be willing to, you know, write in a recommendation for me? And then it's also kind of like that law of reciprocity, right? I took all that time to sit down with them and work with them. So they're going to be more likely to do in that moment because they remember the help I gave them. So
Yeah.
I would say try to do it as close in time as possible. But you know, if you're currently working with someone or just someone that you know well that can speak on your skills and abilities, then ask them now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
Can the recommendation be from a professor?
Yeah. Yeah, it can be, like I say, anyone that can speak about what you're trying to sell. So, you know, if you want to say that, you know, by getting a professor to talk about how dedicated you are to, like, let's say, um, like when you set goals, you follow through with them or something of that nature, right? And a professor can speak upon your ability to complete projects and to work hard. And yeah, absolutely, that's fine. Any other questions?
Can we use that career services site still if we wanted to follow up with you to do that one-on-one sort of thing for LinkedIn or resumes? Is that what we would still, is that the process we would still go through?
Yep, you just go right on Handshake, and when you see when you sign up for an appointment, you can put the option down to go over LinkedIn. There's an option for a LinkedIn appointment there.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Any other before we wrap up? All right. Well, thank you so much for attending. It was a pleasure being able to share this information with you all, and look forward to maybe seeing you all in a session or an appointment in the near future. And you know, my email is dshaw1@pacific.edu, and you can also find my information on Career Services website and also on Handshake if you want to get into contact with me. But thank you so much, and hope to chat with you about networking and how to use LinkedIn on a day-to-day basis. We can go a lot more detail if we meet for one-on-one appointments. So have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye.